Great Scott!
The Great Scott Show.
And as they head into the final furlong, all of the other radio stations and radio hosts are left in the wake of a keen turn of speed by the Great Scott Show, the champion.
With Scott Prater.
Steal the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Great Scott Show, going up on a Tuesday morning. Sometimes old man time catches up to you. Tom Brady's been running from it for years. This season, he was able to fool you a couple of times, right? When you play a Saints team that was great at blowing leads late and finding creative ways to lose the game like they did on that Monday night. But that was just like, putting on a bunch of stage makeup, getting some hair plugs, really just trying to fool everyone. The truth is, Tom Brady was not good this year. Not good. And last night, he and the Bucs, as I kept telling you guys, were bad. And everyone I would say that, some people would agree, others would say, what does it say about the Saints? I'd be like, what do you think I've been telling you this season that the Saints were good? I was way wrong about the Saints before the year. I thought they'd be good. They weren't. They were bad. So were the Bucs. The NFC South was terrible. But because they were playing the Cowboys, there was a sense of, maybe the Cowboys will find ways to blow it. They haven't won a road game in 30 years. What's going to happen in Tampa Bay? Never count out Tom. As I told you yesterday on this show, the Monday night game after Super Wild Card Weekend, where we got a lot of good football, was going to be the build-up that of a studio-produced blockbuster film, and you see the preview for it, and you see all of these stars and all of these box office attractions, and the preview's got the music, and they've got the score, and they've got the leading men and leading women, and they have all this build-up and hype, and then you talk to a friend that actually went to the midnight showing, they just couldn't wait to see it, and they tell you, don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. It was awful. That was last night's Monday night game. Unless you're a Cowboys fan, I'm sure you enjoyed every second of it, aside from Brett Maher, who somehow missed 4 extra points. It's incredible. He's so lucky it happened to be in a game where it didn't matter. Can you imagine if that dude had missed 4 PATs and they lost the game by a point? Anyway, it didn't matter. It just was something to... Maher's missed PATs was the most entertaining part of the whole game. That should tell you what you need to know about how bad the game was. That's how bad it was. The fact that the missed extra points were like, oh, here's something we can make memes about. Here's something we can laugh about. Here's something we can smile about. The final score was 31-14, and people were talking about a guy missing PATs. Dak Prescott had a great game. Tom Brady and the Bucs weren't good. They haven't been good. They're not good. The playoff loss, if that's Brady's last game, that's a sad final game. That dude did not want to take any contact. Anytime he was under pressure, let me throw it in the dirt. I don't blame him. He might have all those, stage makeup and prosthetics on to try to fool everybody. He's 45 years old playing in the NFL. Well, maybe he'll go somewhere next year. Team up with Sean Payton. He's going to do this. He's going to be 46 years old. Maybe he'll go to San Francisco. Look at what they have around him. Why would you want Brady right now at this point in time? Scott, did you see him in the game against Carolina a few weeks ago? Yeah, I saw him in a game where he had great protection, and he played one decent game with great protection this year. He is not the player that he used to be. He's not even close. Don't get fooled by the fact that Tampa Bay happened to win the worst division in the history of the NFL and had some help from a couple of, several bad teams in the division to make it happen. As I told you guys, the most entertaining that blockbuster film with all the hype could have been is if it had been a close game and the Cowboys would have had to make some clock management type decision and Mike McCarthy would have had to do that late in the game. But it never came to that, and I said I might regret it, but I think Dallas is going to win this game. They're a lot better. I think they're going to win. I think it's going to be that close, and it wasn't. That was one game. For some Cowboys fans, it was very affirming. It was very affirming. They didn't feel great about it. They were nervous. They heard all the talk of, hey, I hadn't won a road playoff game in 30 years. Can Dak Prescott handle a big game? And I'm here to tell you, Cowboys fans, don't get ahead of yourself. You beat there was one team in the playoffs this year with a losing record. One. It was the Bucs. Not just a losing record. A losing record for a team that got outscored by over 45 points heading into the postseason. That's every team in the NFC South had a better point differential than the Bucs. They were bad, man. Really bad. Really bad. So, for Brady, for the Bucs, if you're the Bucs, you gotta move on. You gotta turn the page. You tried to run it back, it didn't work. But I think this is it for Brady. I really do. He's not going to commit to anything. The guy probably actually will talk himself into wanting to come back. And will a team be willing to do it? Is that what you want? Saints fans, you wouldn't want that. Trust me. Behind that O-line, please. Well, if we can just get him behind the best O-line and he could just sit back there. Okay, sit back there and get you underneath and cool. That's a lot of things you need in place to make something else work. The movie star is past his prime. The blockbuster film flopped, and the game last night was a dud. You just had Brett Maher going in there with some just slapstick comedy. That was very memorable. That was about the only thing worth checking out. I mean, that was bad. That was bad. Todd Bowles, it was a rough year. Team was supposed to be a contender. They finished 8-10. When all was said and done, they got outscored this season by 76 points. 66. Well, what are we doing? Let me do my math here. My math isn't great, to be honest with you. Okay, when all was said and done, they got outscored by 62 points this season. Yeah. The Cowboys looked efficient. They looked crisp. Aside from Mahar's slapstick, the Cowboys have enough talent to win the NFC, but are they going to go into San Francisco and win next week? Maybe. It's possible, even though San Francisco's won 11 in a row. It's possible. It's possible they could do it. But early line on that game is San Francisco -4. The Niners are the favorite. Fox is salivating right now. They're going to bring up 30 years ago and the old rivalries and all this other stuff. They're going to bring up a little bit last season and what San Francisco did in Dallas, and it's going to be a talking point, and they're going to have plenty of storylines. But in this case, see, the storylines for this is when you run back something that worked back in the day. You know? What was that? Netflix did that long movie with De Niro and Pacino and Joe Pesci. What was the name of that one? I didn't watch it because I just don't have enough time in my life to, The Irishman. Yeah, Scorsese directed it. I just didn't have enough time in my life to, I can figure out how to spend 3 hours watching a game, kind of, because I can kind of go in and out of it. I can do stuff during commercials. I can, try to be a dad. I can hit pause. I can do other things. I can't sit down and watch 3.5, 4 hour movie, The Irishman. But that's kind of where this thing is going next Sunday. There's going to be a lot of talk about the history of these two teams, and that's all cool. That's all fine and dandy. And you can bring up De Niro and Pesci and Pacino and Keitel. You can bring up Montana and Young and Aikman and Irvin and Smith and Haley and all this stuff. That's fine. But I hope they take it easy on that a little bit and just focus on the current teams. Like the other guys in that movie. Bobby Cannavale, Stephen Graham, Anna Paquin. Like, you got Dak Prescott. You got this Brock Purdy story. You got Nick Bosa. You've got CeeDee Lamb. You've got star power. You've got a matchup that, honestly, whoever wins will probably get plenty of hype heading into a matchup the following week against Philly. Because, yes, Philly will beat the Giants. I'm here to tell y'all. But all in all, whole lot of sizzle for a $2 steak last night. That's what that was. Quarter after the hour. It's the Great Scott Show. We're going to talk plenty this morning. We got UL Hoops, Coach Garry Brodhead and Bob Marlin both scheduled to be on the show today. Jay Walker going to be in studio in the 8 o'clock hour. Phone lines are open. They were just lit up, had a caller on hold. They bailed, but it's open. 337-269-1077, 337-269-1077. I will get to your phone calls. If you're patient, we'll get to you. Hit me up. It was a rough outing last night. But for the NFL, they had a great Sunday. I would say a pretty good Saturday. And now they get ready for another loaded weekend of football. Another loaded weekend of football. 31-14 the final. Pelicans lose yesterday. Played a game in Cleveland at 2. Finish up their long road trip. One game under 500. Won the games they were favored in. Lost the games they were not. Had them on the ropes for a while, but got into the fourth quarter. Cleveland started on a 16-2 run. The Pelicans couldn't buy a bucket, and that was that. That was that. But they're finally back home for a game. Then they hit the road for 2 more. But look for it. It'll be a different team at home. Be a different team at home. I feel like they did what they were supposed to on the road trip. For the record. You can email me, Scott at 1033thegoat.com. Chuck emails. He says, Scott, I hear what you're saying, but I just can't believe Tom Brady would go out like that. It's going to irk him. What else is he going to do? He can't go home to his family. Well, now, come on. That's rough, Chuck. You don't need to kick a man when he's down. He's going through a tough time with his wife. He still sees his kids. He can go home to his kids, but Tom Brady said that he wouldn't be taking time to smell the roses. That's what he said after yesterday's game. Says sometimes in football you get lucky. Most of the time the team earns it, wins. They played well all year. Sometimes you get lucky. Yeah. His contract's expiring. There's a no-tag clause. He'll be unrestricted free agent. He's going to be 46 years old next year. Remember last year he said, I'm going to hang it up. And then the Patriots fans got all sensitive because he didn't send them a big thank you, because really behind the scenes, the reports were that he was trying to get to Miami and team up with Sean Payton, and then Brian Flores thing happened, and it didn't work out, and then he went back to Tampa Bay, and 40 days after he said he was retiring, he decided he was going to come back. Not, had a few moments here or there. Not the best for him. Not a way he wants to go out, Chuck, but sometimes when it's an age thing, you really don't have that option. Prayers up for Russell Gage, by the way. He's still in the hospital, according to reports. He was taken out on a stretcher late in that game last night. Got a hard shot to the neck. So concussion, possible neck injury. Certainly wishing him well and hope that he's okay. The Houston Texans completed their interview with Sean Payton. Here's the thing about the Texans, who finished 3-13-1. I've been telling you guys that the Texans are potentially in play for Sean Payton for a couple of reasons. Number one, they have owners that will spend money, lots of money. That could be appealing to Sean Payton. Number two, they have 11 draft picks, including 2 in the top 12, one of which can be sent out, 12 overall, if they were wanting to get Sean Payton. They have $40 million in cap space. They have some young players, but you could go out and maybe draft a quarterback, get a quarterback. You're in a division that is winnable. I mean, it's AFC South better than the NFC South, but probably if you're ranking the 8 divisions, it's number 7 on the list in terms of strength. It's second to last. It's a division that you can compete in. You can be decent. The Texans haven't been good for a while. Some feel like their ownership's a bit of a mess. They don't like how they've treated some of their previous head coaches, but it's a place where Payton can get a fat contract, plenty of cap space to work with, room to basically, I think, space to do what he wants. I'm not just talking about cap space. I mean, literally, like ownership will say, hey, man, we'll stay out of the way. Do what you need to do. It makes more sense than I think, Arizona. But Carolina and Denver are set to interview him as well. Payton went on the Colin Cowherd show yesterday, and I'll say this, he was not, a lot of times Payton gets in front of the media or on, the Fox NFL show, Sunday morning, whatever, and there is a touch of orchestration. He's kind of pulling strings even when guys don't know it. It's all kind of he knows what he should say, what he's supposed to say. He's waiting for the question. He's expecting it. He's in the interview with Cowherd yesterday, I mean, he was like, look, I think he was asked, what do you think compensation is? He's like, I don't know. You're not that's not part of the process yet. But when he was pushed on it, he said, yeah, I think, for the Saints, they probably are looking at a, first-round pick, mid to late first-round pick. And that's what he's saying, and he has nothing to do with those part of the negotiations. I think Houston will want Sean Payton. There is apathy in that giant city for that football team. The franchise has only been around since 2001. And while they had some division titles and a string of winning the AFC South with Bill O'Brien, they haven't and they've won some playoff games at home. They have not been a team that's been to a conference championship. They've never been a true contender. I mean, it sounds like the Saints in a lot of ways. The difference is the Saints, they had never even won a playoff game, and they had been around a lot longer when Sean Payton took over. But he was able to go in. They had a lot of draft capital. They had a lot of cap space. Of course, the biggest piece to that puzzle that you can't just acquire if you take the spot with the Texans was the whole Drew Brees thing, which worked out because his shoulder was shot, and Nick Saban had a doctor give him a serious physical and poked him and prodded him and said, yeah, we're going to go ahead and go with Dante Culpepper, even though his knee's shot. Dolphins go with Drew Brees. Everything, football history changes in so many ways. Who knows where each franchise is? I mean, it changes college and pro football history, but it happened the way it did, and it worked out for the Saints. The Texans, more than anything, when Sean Payton takes this gig, if he takes that gig, all the cap space, all the money from ownership, all the space to do what he wants to do, all the draft capital, all of that's important. But the only way he's going to win is if he finds a quarterback, and it ain't Davis Mills. And there's speculation out there. There's reports. Well, I mean, if you're the Saints, what if he goes back to Fox? Saints don't want that. He won't get anything next year. That's not true, actually. The Saints have the rights to Sean Payton via the contract he signed with them when they had him as the third highest paid coach in the NFL, and he decided to quit on the team. They have his rights through the 2024 season. When he quit, he had 3 years left on a 5-year deal, which means if he goes back to TV for another year, next season, the Saints would still have to give permission to any team wanting to interview him and get compensation in return. But here's the thing. That's not going to happen. Sean doesn't want to do TV for another year. I don't know that he really wanted to do it all that much. It was just the right thing to do for a year, to keep his name atop, to do something that could pay him a lot of money before he got to go coach somewhere else. According to Payton, in his interview, the Broncos and Panthers will interview him. Broncos will interview him today. Panthers will interview him Friday. The Cardinals are requested permission to interview him. There is no reports of when that would be. I mean, Payton's 59. He doesn't want to. He don't want to keep dragging this thing out. He doesn't. And asked if he would consider the Texans, Sean didn't hesitate. He said, yes. He knows the GM. He talked about how he's friendly with ownership there. It's interesting. Keep an eye on it. 25 after the hour. We're going to take a quick timeout. We'll come back. Shift gears to Raging Cajun Hoops for a moment. Garry Brodhead, Louisiana Raging Cajun women's basketball coach, will join me. Then at 7:45, Bob Marlin, men's basketball coach, Cajuns. Winners of 4 straight. Back-to-back road wins as well. They're on the road again this week. We'll talk to Coach about his team and the latest with Cajun Hoops. Jay Walker will be in studio at 8. All of that and more coming your way. Don't go anywhere. It's the Great Scott Show on a Tuesday. We're right back right after this.
Download the free 103.3 The GOAT app now.
Right now.
You've got mail and the very latest sports news now.
Did he say what I think he said?
103.3 The GOAT.
Welcome back into the Great Scott Show, 103.3 The GOAT, simulcast on 1420. The GOAT, your home for Louisiana Raging Cajun women's basketball. The Cajuns coming off of a hard-fought defeat on the road in overtime against Troy. Prior to that, a fairly dominant win at home against South Alabama. Cajuns are at home this week, Thursday and Saturday, against Old Dominion and Arkansas State over at the Cajun Dome. And joining me now is the head coach of Louisiana Raging Cajun women's basketball, Coach Garry Brodhead. Good morning, Coach. How are you today?
Doing great. How about you, Scott?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well. Glad to just blessed, glad to be alive and loving life, man. So I'm not going to complain.
I feel the same way. Good stuff.
Let's take a look back last week before we take a look forward. At home against South Alabama, we had talked last week about focusing on yourself, not as much about the opponent, not as much about the standings. How would you rate your team's performance overall in the 17-point win over the Jags last week?
I thought we did a pretty good job. We talked about trying to eliminate turnovers and, to give us a chance to better guard. And I thought we did a really good job, and I think offensively we shot the ball better. I thought we wasn't settling for threes right away. We tried to actually we got the ball in the lane. We got some inside touches to play inside out. So that was kind of our goal, was to try to see if we could do a little bit better job on both of those kind of things. And I think it kind of worked out. And we saw some improvement and a little bit of confidence, in shooting the ball. We shot the free throws better, which we've been kind of struggling a little bit. So, but I was pleased in keeping those turnovers down and the way we defended, I thought we did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I mean, the defense is something that you and I talk about every week. You're always harping on it. Defense on Saturday at Troy. You guys lost a heartbreaker in overtime, but how did you feel about that side of the ball for you guys on D?
I thought we played well. There was times where we got caught up in their game. I know we started the game. I think we shot 4 threes away right off the bat, and I thought that was kind of something we didn't want to do. We wanted to try to get some inside touch. We wanted to be a little bit more patient on the offensive side, and the game started kind of in like them controlling the tempo, and then I thought we, they went on runs, and we kind of kept playing, and turnovers were a little bit high for us, and for them, but we got kind of caught up in playing their style a little bit, and then we kind of, toward the end of the game, I thought we did a great job. We kept it close, and at the end of the game, we had opportunity. We had the last shot in regulation, wide open shot that we had kind of drawn up, and actually we had made a stop. We hit a three to tie it with about 20 seconds left, or maybe 15 seconds left, and then they had the ball, but we got them to, we kind of jumped out in front of them to take a charge, and they called a walk. And so we got the ball back, and we ran something that was, Lene Wheaton got an open look, and she made one more pass. And, D. Rice was, right where we wanted to be. And then we missed a shot. We get the rebound and the putback, and we missed the putback. So we had a chance. That would have been, the game was tied at that time. And clock went out, and we go in overtime, and we just, we didn't have an answer for them. They hit some shots, and we didn't, and, kind of fell short. But, I thought we played a pretty complete game, play them as well as we did over there. And, then we went back to not shooting free throws as good, I think we probably shot right at 50-something% from the free throw line. That kind of hurt us. But, just part of the game, you got to make layups, free throws, and you got to better guard. So, but we were in the game, top, they're one of the top teams in the league, and it's very difficult to play over there. And to have a chance to win, you got to be, you got to take it and kind of grow from it.
Yeah. I mean, you guys were right there. You mentioned it. And Troy, they're 5-1 in conference. You guys are 3-3, but not far behind them. You got Old Dominion this week. They're 4-2. You got Arkansas State. I know they're still looking for their first Sun Belt win, but more than all that, Coach, you're at home, which I know you guys at the Cajun Dome, friendly confines of home, not the wear and tear that travel can put on a team. I mean, I know it's there's a lot of hoops left to be played this season, but in the grand scheme of things, man, being at home, do you feel like these are? I don't want to use the phrase "must win." I think that's a bit hyperbolic, but it's just in terms of the importance of protecting the home court, man. How important are these next two for you?
I think they are. I think when you play at home and in Division I college basketball, you got to try to get those wins because it's a lot tougher on the road, especially the way we're traveling this year. But, you got to be able to come in and take care of it. I love what the men have done over the years. They're hard to beat at the Dome. I wish we could ever get, to that situation where, we're just a lot tougher, But, you play on Thursday and we can't practice there on Friday because they got some kind of concert. And then now you got to, do a shoot around Saturday morning. So it's still tough to play there, it's like the court's not always down and all that, but it just makes it tough. But, it's the same thing for the incoming teams. They don't get to get on the court till the day of the game. So, I mean, it just kind of works both ways. But, yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of been some of the things that the media, y'all have preached, you know, like, man, you got to take care of them home games and then, you know, split on the road if you can, you know. And I agree with that, man. I really do. I think those home games become very, very important, you know. And I know we had one slip away this year, you know, so we got to get back on track, winning at home.
Well, you got
you know, Old Dominion is going to be different. You know, we don't really know a lot about. I mean, we watch the film, but we don't really know their system as much as we would know Arkansas State and so on. You know, like the Little Rocks and the UTAs and South Al. You know their system because you've been playing against it for 10, 11 years. So,
do you miss Little Rock though? Like, it might be a trick question. You do?
No, I love playing against Joe Foley's team. He's just so fundamental and. Well, I really do, man. I hated to see him get out, you know, and you know he was a spokesman for women's basketball. Right. I don't know, man. I hate to put him down in my category, but he reminds me of me a lot, you know. Been doing it forever and just caring for women's sports, and
he's got the passion.
I do miss him. Yeah. Oh man, and talk about a great coach, man. And he's defensive minded too. You know, they don't score a lot. They're very good defensively.
They win a lot,
though. Yeah. And they win a lot.
They win a lot.
Sir.
You got Old Dominion Thursday. They're a team like most. You know, we're talking home road. Granted, they won in overtime in Statesboro last week, but you know they've been a different team at home than on the road. They're winners of 4 straight. There's not the familiarity you typically get when you play a conference team because they're new to the conference. So Old Dominion Thursday, and then you guys get to stay at home. You got Arkansas State Saturday. There is more familiarity there, but how do you approach a game like Old Dominion? You said you look at the tape. Is there only so much you can do to prepare for an opponent like that?
You know, we'll know their offenses. You know, we'll be able to go over all their offenses with our team and do walkthroughs and guard it and all that. You know, our scout teams do a pretty good job of running, you know, somebody else's offense. So we'll do that, you know, focus on that, and then, you know, also work on our offense against the way they would guard, whether they're going to play a 2-3 or a 1-3-1 or if they go man. And so we just kind of prepare that way, you know, but we still do what we do best, you know, like we want to press a little bit. We want to pressure the ball no matter what type of offense they run in, you know, and we'll have the breakdown of each individual on, you know, what their strength is and all that. And if they're 3-point shooters, jump shooters, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, we go through the whole ball of wax. Our coaches do a great job of kind of putting us in position, you know, and it's kind of like a quick course on a team, you know. And so this, for us, it's a little different because now you kind of looking at a new system, you know, different way of doing things. The East Coast plays basketball a little different way. So, you know, we haven't, over the years, being here at UL or even at McNeese, we hadn't played a lot of East Coast teams and stuff. So it's kind of difficult to get, you know, we got to try to get used to it, you know. And so, yeah, we'll prepare, you know, best we can. And I'm glad it's at home, though. You know, that one game we play them will be at home. So I think it gives us somewhat advantage.
Thursday night, Cajun Dome, 6 o'clock tip. Saturday, Cajun Dome against Arkansas State, 2 o'clock tip. Pre-game 15 minutes prior here on 103.3 The GOAT, simulcast on 1420. Last thing, Coach, like to highlight a player. You mentioned her earlier, Lene Wheaton. She's down here in my notes. And, you know, I think following you guys, listening to the games, a name that I think anyone that's following women's Cajun hoops is familiar with, knows how important she is. But for fans that maybe aren't on the inside, you know, don't have the day-to-day that you do with her, what does that young woman bring to your team on and off the court?
Well, you know, I think the one thing is, man, she's a great offensive player, you know, and she'll admit to it. She's still trying to get used to the defensive side, but, you know, she works hard, great kid, fun to be around. She's one of those kids that always enjoys a laugh and, you know, just that kind of kid that it's fun to be around. I mean, her teammates love her, and, you know, she's a team player, you know, learning how to play defense for us has been a challenge for her, but she's grown this year. And, you know, off the court, you know, she does what she needs to do. You know, she's very, very good in the classroom, and, you know, just it's kind of great, you know, to have, you know, transfer from, actually, she's playing our old team, you know. She comes from Old Dominion. She's a transfer from Old Dominion, so it's going to be kind of unique for her to be able to play against them. Yeah,
and you mentioned it, Coach, right? The offense has been there. Her and Tamara are the leading scorers for your team, but defense, it's been an adjustment. But it sounds like, from what you're saying, it's an adjustment, but one she's embraced, one she knows she's got to get better at.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing for her. She keeps on looking at it. Last year she got a little discouraged, and I felt we were pretty hard on her last year. But, man, she's accepting that this year. It's like, man, Coach, stay on me. I got to get better. I got to get better at it. And so, when you have those type of kids, you're going to see an improvement in them, and they're going to continue to improve. And, they get ready for the real world when they leave here. I think they're not scared of discipline. They're not scared of, doing what the team needs her to do. So that's good. It's been a process that she's kind of handled really well.
Coach Brodhead, I appreciate you taking the time as always. Best of luck this week, and I know we'll see you soon.
I appreciate it, Scott. Go Cajuns.
All the best. All right, that is Coach Brodhead. We'll go from the women to the men for Rage Cajun Hoops. Coach Bob Marlin going to join me in about 3 minutes. Louisiana coming off of their fourth straight victory. They were on the road for the last two. They were down by 10, erased it, beat South Alabama on the road by 3. And they've been winning in different ways, and different players have been stepping up. It's a deep team. We'll talk to Coach about that and more when we come back right after this, back at 3 minutes on The Great Scott Show. It's 103.3 The GOAT, simulcast on 1420 The GOAT, the greatest sports talk of all time.
It's a good thing goats have 4 stomachs. Otherwise, there's no way we could swallow some of these takes.
Hey, goat, what's going on out there?
103.3 The GOAT, the greatest sports talk of all time.
Welcome back into the Great Scott Show, coming at you on a Tuesday, as he does each and every Tuesday. Louisiana Raging Cajun men's basketball coach Bob Marlin joins us at a quarter till the top of the 8 o'clock hour. Cajuns coming off of their 4th consecutive victory. We talked last week about winning on the road in college hoops and some of the challenges it presents. But, Coach, you guys did just that last week. I know you got 2 more on the road this week, but good morning, and how you feeling?
Feeling great, Scott. How about you?
I'm doing great, Coach. I appreciate you asking. I want to look back before I look ahead real quick. 2 road wins, 2 different ways you've done it, and we talked about that last week and how you guys have found different ways to win and how different players have stepped up in different games, and that happened again at ULM, though. Just feels like in Monroe, you got off to the really good start, and maybe Warhawks had a little mini run here, there, nothing serious. You kind of never seemed to let your foot off the gas. The hot start kind of just led the way for you guys.
Yeah, that was exactly right, Scott. We shot the ball well and jumped out, scored our first 3 possessions, 8 of 9. We were scoring inside of the basket. We were making 3-point shots. We were running the floor. And our defense was really good early, too. And at the 15-minute mark, it was 21-4. And from that point, we knew that we wouldn't play perfect for 40 minutes, but we were going to keep our foot on the gas. And we did just that. We led wire to wire. And we did run off the road a couple times and had a flat tire, but we were able to get back on the road and stay on the gas in order to pull that one out. And it's good to go win at a rival school's home gym. It doesn't matter the rankings or anything else. It's a rival game. It was their best crowd of the year, and our guys went in and persevered.
Yeah, and I mean they're a team that's I think they're 4-2 in conference. They've had a solid season to this point, but a game that from my vantage point, it never, after the hot start, it never felt like or here they come. You guys did a good job of just kind of keeping your foot on top of them and getting the win. And I know that's, you've coached long enough, Coach Marlin, to know that's not always the case, man. That to have that mentality of just not letting up or not relaxing, it's something that doesn't always happen, but it happened for you guys in Monroe for sure.
Yeah, it comes from within our group pretty much, Scott. The coaches do a good job of emphasizing that throughout the game. I mean, we continue to demand and more from them, especially on the defensive end and taking care of the ball, valuing the ball. All we have to do is get a good shot. And if we do that, then we're gonna score some points. We're 10th in the country in field goal percentage. We're 11th in the country in 3-point field goal percentage, and we're 14th in the country in effective field goal percentage, and we're 25th in the country in scoring. I mean, that's out of 362 teams. So we've got a good offense if we can take care of the ball and improve our defense a little bit, be more consistent with it. We've been good at times, and we'll have a great chance the rest of the season. And
I think you mentioned it, right? The kind of shots you're getting. You're getting the looks you want. That goes a long way. And offensively, you've had guys, obviously, like Jordan Brown, who is always just putting up big numbers, and he's a great player, and he was the preseason conference player of the year for a reason. But it seems like in a lot of these games, Coach, and in your wins, there's another player that, steps up on the stat sheet, whether it be scoring. I know that's the one fans go to a lot, or in another area. We talked about a game earlier this season where Themis Falks was looking for his shot and showing that he had it and hitting threes. And you have a guy in Joe Charles who I think he had a career high, I believe it was 15 points in the win against ULM. And then, he's just – it seems like game to game I can find a player where it's like, okay, maybe the last game they didn't do this, but today they did, and they got it done, and they leaned on them. And it seems like that depth of your team in all the wins, especially, I guess, Coach, maybe it's more noticeable in the close ones. I mean, because you guys down 10 on Saturday, erased it. You win your fourth straight game. You win in Mobile on the road. Just speak a little bit about how you're leaning on certain guys, and on some days it just happens to be their day, whether it be how they're playing or what the opponent's doing defensively.
Yeah, well, you talked about Jordan to start with, Scott, and he had 5 assists at Monroe, career high, and he had 6 assists at South Alabama. And he's sharing the ball, and that's why we're getting great shots. He's either scoring at the rim or we're kicking it out and getting a good look at 3 because we're unselfish. And that's huge for us. But we have a saying that someone different drives the bus every game. And Joe Charles stepped up this weekend. I believe he was 12 of 13 from the floor, 13 of 14 from the floor. Played fantastic. Always plays great defense. He got like 6.5 rebounds, a couple of steals, a couple of blocks. And he's playing with a lot of confidence, and he gives us a lot of versatility because he can guard a smaller guy like Greg Williams can as well, or a bigger guy. And the versatility that our 2 Lafayette guys have right there on the defensive side is really big for us.
Yeah, the local guys doing big things. Going back real quick to Jordan Brown's passing, I remember speaking to you in your office before the season about Brown and, his passing ability, but what you wanted to see from it this season, whether it was when the double team's coming, how quick he does it, reading the defense, but basically kind of seeing the game before it happens, seeing the play before it happens. And you brought up his assist. It feels like as good a player as Brown has been for you guys, that area of his game has really grown and excelled as of late.
It has, and it's gotten better in the last 6 games, conference games, really. Early in the season, he threw a couple away, Scott, and when you got 3 bodies and 6 hands in your face, sometimes you can't see the tandem on the weak side, and we throw it away. It's probably comparable to football where you never see the guy, and he intercepts the pass. He had a few of those early, but he has improved. He's gotten better. He's looking for his teammates. He's having a great time like all the guys are, and they're enjoying the journey.
You mentioned football. That's a good segue because for a question I was going to ask you last night in a pretty lousy football game, Payton Manning on the Manning cast, he said that halftime adjustments in football were kind of a myth. It felt like it was overblown from fans. He said, I just usually went into the locker room, had a few oranges, and talked to the coach, and then went out and waited to see what the defense was going to do. In basketball, that's not the case. I mean, there are obviously adjustments made throughout the game. I think in the win Saturday for you guys in Mobile, the second half adjustments were pretty evident. Speak a little bit, I guess, a little more in depth than what we hear on the surface from fans and maybe media types like me about, second half adjustments. When you hear that phrase, what does it mean to you when you hear it as far as basketball terms goes? And is it overstated or is it understated in your mind?
I think it's right in the middle. I agree with Payton Manning sometimes that you go back out and play, and you've prepared all week, Scott, for whatever kind of defense you're going to see. So if they shift their coverage, people change defenses on us, we're prepared for it. And we go to it. Now, to me, the biggest change is defensively. How do you guard the pick and roll? Did you get hurt in the first half? Jordan's not moving his feet tonight like he needs to, whatever the case may be, and we turn around and change our coverages. I think that's a big part of it. And then I think second half adjustments, too, is the halftime talk. I mean, it's like the pregame speech gets all the love, but really as a coach, there are two times that you really have to emphasize the positive to your team and get them ready for the second half.
Coach Bob Marlin, our guest, Louisiana Raging Cajun basketball, winners of 4 straight atop the Sun Belt Conference standings, along with a number of other teams at 4-2 in conference. Cajuns are up 14-4 overall, and they hit the road for 2 more this week. Jonesboro Thursday, San Marcos Saturday, Arkansas State, and Texas State. Coach, what's the key for you guys to continue this winning streak?
Need to play better defense. We've been good in segments, but we've got to put 2 halves together of really good defense. And we've got to take better care of the ball. Uncharacteristically on this last road swing, which helped Monroe give a couple of punches, Scott, we turned the ball over too many times. We had a couple of offensive fouls, a shot clock violation, a couple of poor passes that were picked off. And just weren't strong enough with the ball. And that'll be our emphasis today in practice. But if we can do that, continue to take good shots, then we feel like we have a chance to win any game we play.
All the best, Coach. Safe travels this week. Appreciate you taking the time as always, and I look forward to talking to you again next Tuesday.
Thanks, Scott.
You got it. That is Louisiana Raging Cajun head basketball coach Bob Marlin. Louisiana winners of 4 straight, 14-4 overall. They'll hit the road. Jay Walker will have the calls for you Thursday and Saturday. News Talk 96.5 KPEL. 6:30 pregames Thursday, 3:30 pregame Saturday. Speaking of Jay Walker, he's wearing a shirt honoring one of his favorite TV shows ever. He's in studio. We've got Terrible Tune Tuesday next hour. He's got a smile on his face. That's all the tease you need. Tell him hi, Jay.
Hi, Jay.
All right. More of that coming your way right after this. Don't go anywhere.
Great Scott!
The Great Scott Show.
And as they head into the final furlong, all of the other radio stations and radio hosts are left in the wake of a keen turn of speed by the Great Scott Show, the champion.
With Scott Prather.
Steal the show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Great Scott Show, 8 o'clock hour. The opinionated, diverse Birdman, ODB.
Hello.
Jay Walker is in studio.
Hi, simply hi.
I searched the internet to try and find Paul Allen's call of Kirk Cousins' game-losing check down.
I was about to ask you if you had it.
I couldn't find it. I mean, they don't post that one. I want to hear it. What are you doing? Like... It was the most Kirk Cousins way ever to lose a game. They check it down. 3 yards, 4th and 8. Don't have pressure. Season on the line. Hey, Super Wildcard Weekend was fun.
It was.
It was. Now, last night was exactly what I predicted it would be. I said, look, all this is all the side stories. It's like when you go to the movies and they have a preview and it's this big blockbuster and there are all these huge names and they have this impactful score, and you're like, ooh. And then you talk to somebody that was so anxious they went to the midnight feature, and you're like, how was it? And they're like, oh, my God, don't go see it. It was terrible. That's what last night was. It was more about the sizzle than the steak. But all the other games, man, there was some high entertainment value.
Yeah, I missed the games on Saturday. I did get home in time to see the end of the Jacksonville San Diego game.
Steal the shit.
But I missed the other two, and then I watched all the games on Sunday, and then watched the game last night. Now, last Tuesday I sat here and told you Dallas was going to beat Minnesota, and you brought up how bad Dak was in the last regular season game.
Minnesota.
You know what I mean?
I thought they would beat them too. I didn't predict Tampa to win. I was just trying to.
Yeah, you're just trying to get.
I was doing the radio thing.
Yeah. Okay.
I said, look, Dallas should win. If they're in the best entertainment value would be if it's a game late and they have to make a clock management type decision. But no, it was a lousy movie where the only comedy was 4 missed PATs in a game where it didn't matter. So it was just able to be like a joke. It was like. Let's have this block. When Adam Sandler just puts some random thing in his movies that they like every now and then, every 20 minutes, someone pops out with some zinger, and you're like, oh, that's kind of funny. That was Brett Maher last night. It was like, wait, the game's not entertaining. I want Dallas to score again just to see if he'll miss another one. It was awful. The Bucs were bad this year. They were outscored by more than any other team in the NFC South this year.
I don't doubt it.
Minus 45 heading into last night. Brady wasn't good this year, despite what the media would have you believe. The Bucs weren't good this year. They won the worst division ever. They beat some bad teams, and they played a talented team last night. Now, next week, Dallas is playing a different kind of team.
Yes, they are. And I said last week that I thought San Francisco would be the NFC representative in the Super Bowl, and I'm standing by that comment.
It was a close game for like almost 3 quarters, and then that was it. San Francisco just kind of ran over them late in the third and into the fourth. Elijah Mitchell found the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
Brock Purdy's feeling confident. San Francisco's defense is legit.
The best in the National Football League. Here, let me help you.
It feels like, and I think Philly will beat the Giants. I mean, it feels like San Francisco at Philly. And in the AFC, Cincinnati's just too beat up on the O-line. I mean, it feels like Kansas City and Buffalo are going to play an AFC championship game in Atlanta. That's where this thing feels like it's heading.
I'm not going to discount Cincinnati, although I do think Buffalo will win. And look, only the big diehard Cincinnati / Joe Burrow fans are the only ones who don't want to see a Kansas City Buffalo championship game. Yeah. Everybody else in America wants it.
And I like the Bengals, and I like Joe Burrow, but yes, I think having those two go at it, if Cincinnati, if they were all healthy and I thought they could actually make a run and do it, the O-line, because of injuries, is worse off than they were last year in the postseason.
And that's bad.
Yeah. And their defense won them that game the other night.
All right, you just glossed over something for a minute, and I'd like you to expound on it, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
You very nonchalantly said that Philly's going to beat the Giants.
Sure, yeah.
Okay. While I agree with you, I don't think you can be nonchalant about that. I think that's going to be a good football game.
It could be. I mean, Brian Dable's the coach of the year. It's further proof that coaching makes a big difference in the NFL. I mean, Daniel Jones, he was great against Minnesota. Now, Minnesota's defense is bad, but whatever. He was great.
Yeah.
And there's something about a coach. One, obviously, they can motivate their team, but two, knows their personnel. I mean, Jones has had multiple coaches and coordinators and kept being referred to as problem, and they should have never drafted him, and blah, blah, blah. Then in comes a coach that's like, you know what? We're going to play to your strengths. Like, you're not Eli Manning. You are very quick on your feet. We have these we don't have depth at receiver. Let's mix things up a little bit. Let's do stuff differently. And they found a way to win a lot of close games. And they kind of give me like 2000 Saints vibes as far as like, man, we've been bad. We got a new coach. He believes in us. We want to outwork our team. Now, post-2000, it didn't go well for Haslett. He lost control of the locker room. But that season, it was like play to your personnel strengths and hit the other team in the mouth, keep it close, and then when it's time, we got them where we want them. That's the Giants. And I just think, I think Philly's kind of being disrespected as a 1 seed. I think Jalen Hurts, that extra week of rest is going to help. And I think there's some familiarity there. I think at some point the Giants, Daniel Jones is good, but he faced a bad defense. Philly's defensive line is they're ferocious. And
they're good.
I do think Philly will beat the Giants, but you feel like it's going to be close. Maybe the Giants cover. I hope so. I'm all for close games. Give me drama. I want it. I don't want that garbage last night.
I'm going to tell Lizzie you said that.
What?
That you want drama.
Yeah.
Because you spend more time, with her than you do with me. So.
I want drama in my football games, not in my personal life, ever.
I understand.
Try to avoid all of that. I want drama for entertainment purposes.
Dear Lizzie, hi, this is Jay. Look, I'm glad you're doing well. I just want you to know that Scott believes that there ought to be more drama.
Yeah. She would be like, yeah, I don't believe you. That's not true. She just, tells me to quiet down when I'm yelling at the Pelicans on TV. But yeah, man, I hope Giants Philly's good. I hope Jacksonville Kansas City's good. Jacksonville is. I was so mad at myself, Jay. I kept telling myself, just put $5 on the money line. Like when it was 27-0, I was like, do it. And I would have had to log in. I would have had to get stuff out of my account. I was like outside. The kids were around. I know that it's like convenient on the app, but it just was not the right time. And I'm like, should I just go in the other room? Should I just do it? So mad at myself because even after it bounced off of the guy's head on a punt. So Trevor Lawrence, 416 for 40 yards and 4 interceptions. Then there's a muffed punt, and it bounces off the head of a player for Jacksonville, and that's the 5th turnover. And you're like, but Chargers can't get in the end zone again. They kick a field goal, it's 27-0, and I'm like, this is the Falcons just with better talent, better uniform. That's what they are. I didn't do it. And then as Jacksonville's coming back, I'm like, it's going to happen. Like, it's going to happen. And it did. And, shout out to Jacksonville.
What would your $5
you know what? I didn't even look. I don't even look. I don't know, but it probably like a couple hundred, at least maybe 200, because I'm sure at 27-0, the money line odds were probably pretty long.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And maybe they were weighted a little bit just because of who it was. Because if it wasn't the Chargers or the Falcons, I wouldn't even think about it.
I stopped by the Hot 107.9 control room, and I said to Digital, I pointed at Chris Reed. I said, would you keep him off social media when the Cowboys are playing, please? Because Chris is a huge Cowboys fan.
Oh, yeah.
And he wanted to fire everybody. And the real entertainment on social media was Jacksonville fans. That was great entertainment. And I don't know why there's so many Jacksonville fans. I think it's you've got the teams in people in South Georgia or whatever
Steal the show.
Yeah, that kind of cleave to Jacksonville a little bit. And Cade Sermons, who years ago was a SID here, he's a big Jacksonville fan, and I follow him on Twitter. And man, just keeping track of all of the Twitter comments while they were imploding and then come back and win the football game.
It's beautiful.
That was, it was great
beautiful
stuff.
Hey, and they didn't leave the stadium. They stayed. It's 27-0. They stayed. They were in those pools. It was 42 degrees. I'm sure by the end of that game, those pools were probably full of urine, but they were celebrating, man. Because you figure you're out there, you're kicking back beers, it's cold. And if you're hanging out in a pool in that kind of weather, like
everybody pees in the pool.
You're not worried about getting out to go pee in some dirty bathroom at a stadium. But, yeah, man, I hope Roberta was celebrating at her Miami Beach house. Well, it was a couple minutes from the beach, but, I'm sure she was celebrating hard, man. 269-1077, 337-269-1077. Let's head to the phone lines. Good morning. Welcome into the Great Scott Show.
Good morning.
Hey.
Hello, gentlemen.
Boy, I feel like is this going to be an ominous call?
Wow.
Hello, gentlemen.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm calling about something. I guess I'm just getting too old, but there's something in sports that has developed over the past several years that just bothers the living hell out of me, and I can't stand it, and I'm sick of seeing it, and I don't ever want to see it again, but I know the next time I turn on the television and I watch a football or a basketball game, I'm going to see it. And I just want to reach through the screen and choke somebody. And that is when a player misses a free throw attempt or a kicker misses a field goal attempt or an extra point attempt. Why does everybody on the field or everybody on the court have to dap the guy and celebrate? Okay, you just missed something that you get paid millions of dollars to make.
You do sound like old guy. You do sound like an old guy curmudgeon sports fan for sure. For sure.
But I will say this though. If you could get rid of that Southern accent, you could have done a great Barry White imitation when you first called, because you were way down there.
I didn't know where this was going. He teased it. I'm like, what is he going to say? And missed free throws.
Look, you don't deserve that. You deserve a punch in the face.
Wow.
You deserve to get your face punched. You are getting paid to do a job that's the easiest job that there is to do in your profession, and you can't do it.
Okay, look, you missed that.
I want to kill you.
You're
hurting me.
You missed that field goal. Okay, line up here, take your helmet off, and everybody is going to punch you in the face.
Yeah.
That's
like Urban Meyer out here kicking kickers. All right. As far as free throws go, the DAP thing is free throws are all about routine. Like, you'll see some players, they'll be shooting a technical. No one is in the paint with them. Make or miss, they mimic the dap or the high five thing. They all have some players have a specific routine, no matter what. They try muscle memory. They're trying to do the same thing. Now, if you miss 4 PATs, I'm not going over and dapping you or anything like that. Now, I might not, punch you in the face, but from a free throw standpoint, that there's an element of routine there, and that's why you see that in the NBA and in college hoops.
Okay, yeah, but you think about it. You just got done talking about Jacksonville and San Diego. As I saw the game from my viewpoint, from my vantage point, okay, this was just me, not watching it in a room full of other people. I didn't see San Diego do one thing wrong or Jacksonville do one thing right to win that football game. I mean, I'm going to give Jacksonville credit. They have something they didn't have last year under Urban Meyer. It's called perseverance and character. But they didn't do anything to earn that win. In fact, when Walker had that stupid penalty against him after they were, in the process of putting the pressure on San Diego.
I see.
I thought that was the game right there. I thought that, how can you commit a penalty so stupid?
Oh, I'm
trying
sorry.
to act like somebody on a football field. Okay, you're a rookie. You could have possibly cost your team a playoff game
You're
for being
hurting
so
me.
stupid. That's another thing they deserve a punch in the face over. But the thing is, you can't do stupid things like that. And yet, if that field goal kicker from San Diego makes the field goal that he misses, that game's probably going to be San Diego.
Certainly not.
But Dallas last night, I don't even know how you let the guy on the plane. Okay, if Dallas lost that game last night,
but they didn't,
that guy would have been safer in an apartment building in Kiev than he would have been going back to Dallas, Texas.
But they didn't lose.
I hate it. I don't want to see it. And it just makes me, it just irritates me to death.
Yeah.
And if that's what they're doing in professional sports, is trying to make everybody over the age of 40 just turn off to anything that they're about.
40.
They're doing a damn good job of
40.
it.
Okay.
Y'all have a good morning, fellas.
That whole thing was ridiculous. That whole call was ridiculous. Like that. I'm sorry, and I am stereotyping here. The make your free throws or I don't want to watch a game. That is a very, very, I picture like a 90-year-old contractor, like, back in my day,
we didn't miss free throws.
And you get paid. I'd slap you if I was your coach. Like, come on. It was just, he was very mad. And I
wonder how many times they would have lined up Shaquille O'Neal to punch him in the face. Because I'm sure that he had a couple of free throw misses in his career.
Yeah, just a few.
That cost his team a game.
No basketball player in the history of professional basketball was 100% free throw shooter. No, not a single one.
Rick Barry was really good.
Great.
And look, in the game Saturday against South Alabama, Terrence Lewis goes to the line. He's 34 out of 36. He misses both free throws. Happens.
Free throws are... There's a mental aspect to free throws and kicking that is... There are times in the context of a game where you're not thinking, you're just playing. With free throws, and I think that's why the whole DAP thing, there's an element of don't think, just muscle memory here. When you get the yips as a kicker like that cat last night... There's so much of it that's mental. And you know what? When you're off, I haven't seen anybody as off as that cat was last night. But in the end, they won and it didn't matter. And watch sometime when you're watching basketball. Doesn't matter, college, pro, doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Everybody at the free throw line has a routine. They don't get away from their routine. All the routines are different. What works for one doesn't work for the other. This guy might take 3 bounces, and this guy might not take any. Or you can be Terrence Lewis, 1 with the left hand, 9 with the right, and then shoot. Everybody's got their own thing, and they're not going to deviate from it. Ever. Some dap their guys in the paint. Some don't touch anyone. They just wipe their hands on their shorts. That's just how it goes. It's frustrating when you lose a game because you missed a bunch at the charity stripe. I get it. I get mad. But I mean, too. if missed free throws would keep you from watching basketball, you'll never, ever, ever watch any basketball game, ever. If a missed PAT or field goal would keep you from watching football, then there's a lot of games you're just going to turn off because It happens often.
I want you to be perfect. And if you're not perfect, you deserve a punch in the face.
Punch in the face. There is a player on...
But, boy, he was really deep when he first started. I was ready for him to say, we got it together, baby.
Ominous. It's going to be ominous. There's a player on the Spurs. I don't know. Trying to think. I think it's either Romeo Langford or Malachi Brannon. And whichever one it is, he shoots his free throw with one hand. Not common in the NBA, not common in basketball, period. But I think it's Langford. So he dribbles with both, but then he gets it in his right, and it's just he has his left hand just straight to the side,
and he shot puts it,
and he just again, he would never do that in a game where he's just reacting or driving to the paint or shooting an outside shot or whatever. But at the free throw line, I mean, it's mental, man. Jerry Jones, by the way, I don't know, plastic surgery. I don't know. Dallas Cowboys was asked last night about, you going to bring in new kickers? Jay, what do you think he said?
I think he said no.
Will you look at some kickers this week?
No. We won't. We just, he's done enough good ones.
Sorry. It was a little, I don't know where that prostate cancer thing just came in there out of nowhere.
But no, if there's one thing that you've learned about Jerry Jones, good or bad, Jerry Jones is loyal to his people. He's loyal to his coaches. How many times you got to wait, he's going to keep, are you kidding me?
What about to that secret child he had?
Well,
for the record, all right, I want to explain something. Is
he going to be on? Maury retired. This would be great.
It already kind of happened, but he paid a bunch. On our board, sometimes if you put on our soundboard here, we have pots to other stations in the building, and sometimes they can be put in queue. And so I heard these two things in my ear, but it was a commercial for a prostate exam, and it kept piping in when Jerry Jones was talking, and I realized afterwards what had happened is if anyone's wondering, like, why did Scott just make reference to a prostate exam when Jerry Jones was talking, that's why. I just wanted to clear that up. I didn't actually get to hear the clip. I just heard him say no. Let me try it one more time.
No. We won't. We just, he's done enough good ones.
Well, I tell you what, man, a little added layer of drama. Dallas just needs a PAT to win it or tie it. A little extra drama going into it. I'll say this, moving the PAT back to, for a 32-yarder has added quite an element.
It has.
Like, go for two. Peyton Manning was so fed up on the Manning cast last night with the kicker. Just seeing him. Now, I don't know if he was like Kyle, like, I want to go, get a switch and beat the guy. But it made for some good entertainment.
Well, kicker got all liquored up and decided they were.
I thought about Mike Vanderjagt the other day in the Dolphins game, and they played tough. Credit to them. They hung tough in Buffalo. There was some rush, and they were saying the last rushing touchdown in a playoff game for the Dolphins was Lamar Smith. Lamar Smith, former Saint, then went to the Dolphins, rushed for over 200 yards, and they beat the Colts in a playoff game right before the Saints beat the Rams for their first playoff win ever. It was like a doubleheader on a Saturday or something. And the Dolphins had a chance to, the Colts had a chance to win that game, and guess who just missed badly?
Mike Vanderjagt.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Then he goes out and says, man, I just don't see that intensity from Coach Dungy or Peyton Manning. And they asked Peyton about it at the Pro Bowl. He's like, I'm about to go in here and throw a touchdown pass to Jerry Rice, and instead I got to sit here and talk to you guys about our dumb idiot kicker that got liquored up and ran his mouth. I remember everyone was kind of shocked. They did not expect that response from Peyton, and all you could do was kind of laugh. I don't know how a response like that would go over today, but boy, 20 years ago it was hilarious. Peyton's funny. All right, let's talk hoops for a minute, Jay.
All right.
You referenced free throws. You referenced the Cajuns a little bit. Back-to-back road wins, two different kind of games. One, you jumped out to a big lead and you never looked back. The other, you're down double digits and you come back. But winning 4 straight, winning 2 straight on the road when you have a 4-game road stretch, that win at Mobile Saturday, I think in the grand scheme of this season and what comes next, that was a big one. And it seems like in their wins, the depth on this team shows up. Maybe not everyone, but there's a player that, you know what, maybe in the last game they didn't do as much on the stat sheet, or maybe they didn't score as much, and it just happens to be their night. I feel like we've seen that a number of times. This is a team, and I know we sometimes only play 7, and there's in terms of guys that gets minutes, but I just feel like of those 7, sometimes 8, depending on Kobe Julian's health, any night it could be one of those guys' nights.
They've had a lot of different guys step up, and they've had guys step up in certain times of games. I thought Joe Charles had 2 great games in that last road swing. I have said this many times, and there are folks that don't agree, and I've been ridiculed on fan boards for saying this. But I'll die on this hill. There is nothing more difficult to do than win on the road in college basketball.
That's it.
And, you look at South Alabama. South Alabama, 6-2 at home, 1-6 on the road. Now, anytime you go on the road, there's a very good chance you're going to be an underdog. Now, the Cajuns were 1.5-point favorites in that game. But it's going to come down to the end. ULM was playing at home. Cajuns jump out to a 24-point lead. It's 7 at the under 4 timeout. ULM's playing at home. Watch Arkansas State. They're not a good basketball team, but watch them give the Cajuns all they can handle on Thursday. That's why the 2 wins they got are big, because a lot of teams just don't play well away from home. Mm-hmm. And the secret to winning is protect your home court. Now, nobody goes, not everybody goes undefeated at home.
Some do.
But some do. Yeah. But protect your home court and then steal what you can get on the road. And if you do that, you're going to be up near the top of the standings when the season ends. And so those 2 road wins are big. If they get 2 more this week,
they'll go on a 10-game winning streak if they win these. Now, I think a split's coming. Hope I'm wrong. But if they win these next 2, I think they're going to have a 10-game winning streak.
Well, they've got a tough homestand coming up after this. But then again, they're playing at home.
4 straight at home.
Yes.
I said this yesterday. Whoever finishes with the best road record in the conference is going to win the conference.
Pretty much. And
getting those 2 was big. You have another 2 this week, then you're at home for a while. It's a and then the women, they were so close. You lose it overtime on the road. You're right there. You mentioned free throws, hit the free throws. They had a good look there, but once you got to OT, it just got away from you. That would have been a huge road win, considering on where Troy is, and those are the tough ones, man.
Now in that league this year, and I could prove to be wrong, but going into the season and from what we've seen so far, this is James Madison's world. We're just living in it. Okay, they're really good.
They are.
But, there are carrots this year that you can go ahead and chew on if you do well. Because if you finish in the top 4, you get a double bye to the quarterfinals.
Huge.
If you finish in the top 8, you get to avoid the first round. So I think there's so much to play for, because I think when you play for seed and there are rewards, I think that makes every game so important. Got to get as many as you can.
2 more this week for them. Arkansas State Thursday, Texas State Saturday. 2 road games, then you're at home for 4. Tough stretch, as you mentioned. You're at home though. Cajun women next 2 at home.
You want to know what a tough stretch this has been?
Yeah.
We're going to start with December 20th. All right, December 20th, I left Lafayette. Now, that's not quite a month. Okay, it's going to be 4 weeks. It's right at 4 weeks today, I think. On the 20th, I left. Went to Austin, did a game on the 21st. Right after the game, I drove to Shreveport and crashed for a while and then spent the night there on Thursday. And then on Friday, did the football game.
Independence Bowl.
And then on the 28th, got on a plane, went to Myrtle Beach for a game of the 29th, flew to Norfolk for a game on the 30th, played on the 31st, went to Lubbock, Texas for on a personal matter, was there for 3 nights, came back for 2 home games, and then was on the road 4 days again the following week. Now, in 28 days, I'm on the road close to 20. And it just wears on you after a while. Now, I'm an old man, okay? You know, the players are going to handle it better than I do, but it's not easy on them either.
You're like Kyle. You're an old man.
Yes.
It's what I find interesting is that there's blowback on that take as if it's somehow not warranted. Like, I talk about it in the NBA a lot, and they're traveling private, and it's a real thing. The Pelicans got home last night. They've been gone for 10 days. The road wears on you. In the NBA, the vast majority of the league has a losing record on the road. As of just a couple of days ago, it's since changed. No team in the Western Conference even had a winning record on the road. And this is the NBA.
Yeah. I get, the people listen to me say that, and then as soon as the Cajuns lose at home, I thought we couldn't win on the road in college basketball.
You didn't say you couldn't. You said it's really, really difficult.
Yes, it's the toughest thing to do in sports.
And that's why I get blowback, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the Cajuns or whatever. When I hear about, man, this team and their home court advantage and they don't lose at home, I'm like, it's not just, no disrespect, it's not just because of the fans and the dimensions and all of that stuff. And all that stuff is good, but it has to do with that team they're playing and what time they got to that city and how that travel went and all of that stuff. And yeah, at the higher level of college hoops, I mean, Duke's not flying commercial, and they're I mean, heck, when Krzyzewski was there, they had a private jet flying around China in the offseason. But that is a very small percentage of college basketball, and you consider you got, 330-something teams.
Everybody in the Power 5 charters, okay? There are teams in the Sun Belt that charter. A couple of those teams in the East.
Marshall.
James Madison, I think, does as well.
Makes a difference.
And it does make a difference. Now, the Cajuns are going to charter to James Madison because it's a one-game road trip. And that will be the first time since I've been covering them that they've chartered to a regular season game. It's not, I was on Hattiesburg radio before we played Southern Miss. And the guy asked, he said, do you think this is a year where the league could get an at-large team? And I said, no. I mean, I was very quick to say no. I said, and you know what? Until we change the way we approach college basketball at our schools, nobody's going to get an at-large bid. We've got to change the way we schedule. We got to change the way we travel. We've got to change the amount of money that we put into these programs. And what we have done when the Sun Belt Conference decided it was going to be a football school or a football league.
You made it a one-bid league.
You made it a one-bid league. Now, it has happened a couple of times since football began. I think the last time was 15 years ago. But it's not going to happen again anytime soon.
Was it that long ago?
Until you schedule better, travel better, and put enough money into your program to where you give your student athletes a fighting chance.
It's not going to happen, though.
No.
It's not going to happen. It's unfortunate for college basketball, but college football is driving this bus.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have it in your conference and you're a mid-major, you can have a great season, but the layout of the schedule, and you kind of saw this coming years back. The coaches did as well when they altered the schedule and the conference schedule and everything like that. Coach Marlin mentioned something to me a week ago that, he feels like, we were talking about traveling and whatnot, coaches would love a Wednesday, Saturday setup. How realistic do you think that is?
Not very. And again, I think that has everything to do with how you travel. If you're chartering and you can, leave, go to a place on Tuesday, play on Wednesday, come home after the game, and then go to class on Thursday, and then on Friday take a charter to go play on Saturday, I think it becomes more doable. But now, if you're gonna go ahead and buy all these round trip tickets commercially to fly to such and such a place and back, and then a day later you're going to buy more. Or if you don't go back, then you're out of school for longer. Well, and that's the other thing.
It's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't. You're either away from school and spending more money on travel, or you're too much travel, too much tread on the tires. It's like where college hoops are, there's certain things that I know coaches would want, especially at mid-majors, that unless you're a private school with gigantic donors, I just don't see it happening.
If you're doing Wednesday, Saturday, okay, you have to do one of two things. You're either going to have a commercial flight, wait a day, have a commercial flight, or you're going to have a commercial flight, have an extra day off for travel, but now you're leaving on a Tuesday. Now you're missing an entire week of classes. So some schools play Wednesday, Saturday. I know that the Southeastern Conference plays a lot of Wednesday, Saturday, or even Tuesday or Saturday, Tuesday.
Depending on TV stuff, yeah.
Depending on television. But unless you change the way you travel, Wednesday, Saturday, I don't think it's doable.
You had it wasn't that long ago that they did like a Saturday, Monday?
Yeah,
remember
they
that?
tried that one year.
That was weird, but it was the same thing, just a different part of the week as far as two games, and now you're traveling, and one of the days isn't a school day. And
what happened was they were complaining. Of course, men's basketball coaches complain about everything. Okay,
and for the record, I just want to say I don't blame them, because I think
they got to fight for everything they get.
Correct. Women's basketball coaches too,
even more so.
Correct.
So
I don't blame them.
So you've got the Saturday, Monday came from the men wanted fewer doubleheaders because we were playing doubleheaders at the time in conference play.
Women's men.
So they said, okay, we're going to play the women Thursday, Saturday. As a matter of fact, the men proposed you play the men Thursday, Saturday, and the women Saturday, Monday. Well, everybody goes, yeah, and then the schedule comes out, and the women are playing Thursday, Saturday, and the men are playing Saturday, Monday, and all hell breaks loose. If you notice, that only happened for 1 year.
1 year.
Now they're doing the mirror schedule, where when one's at home, the other's on the road. There are a few doubleheaders. It'd make my job a hell of a lot easier if we had more doubleheaders, but, you know, I don't think I'm the priority here. I mean, I should be, but I'm not.
You're an old man.
I know. It's true.
Come on. 41 after the hour. A little college hoops talk for you. We're going to take a timeout. Because after all, what's today, Jay?
Today would be Tuesday.
Tuesday. Okay. Terrible. Tuesday.
On 103.3, The GOAT, simulcast on 1420, the greatest sports talk of all time.
For those of you listening via the podcast, that is it for you. Copyright reasons, we cannot play Terrible Tune Tuesday on the podcast for you. But if you want to hear it, tune in on Tuesdays in the 8 o'clock hour when Jay Walker joins. Thank you for listening. For all of you that subscribe and listen to the podcast, I appreciate you. Please, if you enjoy it, share it with a friend. Be nice, be kind, love one another. I will talk to you guys soon. It's the Great Scott Show from Town Square Media, 103.3 The GOAT, simulcast on 1420 The GOAT, the greatest sports talk of all time.